Starflight by Phyllis A. Whitney. For Julie Fallowfield, for so many years my friend, agent, and counselor, thank you. Forward. The most exciting part of discovering a new setting for a novel is the role played by the unexpected. When my daughter and her husband drove me to Asheville, North Carolina, I had never heard of Lake Lure. I'd read about Chimney Rock, but had dismissed it as being out of my reach, with too many steps to climb. To my delight, there's an elevator. When we started out from Asheville, our direction was chosen arbitrarily. We drove along the Blue Ridge and down into Hickory Nut Gorge. The gorge itself was beautiful, but nothing spoke to me until we came out upon the shore of a narrow lake that stretched below the flank of a rock-scarred mountain. We drove into hills above the water where we could better view the entire enchanting scene. I knew immediately that I'd found my setting, even though at that moment I had no idea of the treasures that waited to enrich my novel. Lake Lure and Rumbling Bald Mountain provided the atmosphere and legends that would build my story. A number of people helped me along the way. Edward J. Sheary, Director of Libraries for the Asheville-Buncombe system, made me welcome and helped me with information and introductions. Laura Gaskin of Central Adult Services at the Pack Memorial Library furnished me with the names of those who might help in my search and provided me with numerous copies of articles about the area. Martha Schatz, Director of the Rutherfordton County Library, became my main contact after I returned home, sending me packets of material on all aspects of Hickory Nut Gorge and Lake Lure. Her enthusiastic report on my manuscript was the first reading I received. Thank you, Martha. Joanne Ockpick, innkeeper of the Esmeralda Inn, sent me information about the historic inn where early movie stars came to stay when they were making pictures in the area. Since I'm a movie buff, my imagination took off, and I created my own movie stars. Dale Miller, then a manager at Lake Lure Inn, gave us a tour of the inn, where so many notables of the past had stayed. He also showed us the kudzu-covered barn behind the inn where square dances were once held. The barn was being used for storage, but I cleared it out with a flick of my typewriter and held a costume ball in that cavernous space. Of special help to me were Laney Harrell and his wife Livon. I met Laney on top of Chimney Rock, and we were invited to his home on Lake Lure. There I could catch the feeling of what it would be like to live on the shore of that mountain-framed stretch of water. Laney also introduced me to some of the marvelous legends that abound in Hickory Nut Gorge. For every book I write, I visit the local Chamber of Commerce. In the Chamber's little building in the village of Chimney Rock, I struck a special load of gold. Anne O'Leary took us up the mountain to see the set of the Indian village that was used in the movie The Last of the Mohicans. We took photos and videos of that remarkable and very complete Huron village, so that when I was working at home, I could visualize it again. For the movie, sadly, much of the village ended up on the cutting room floor. I'm glad that I could preserve more of its detail in my story scenes. Thank you, David Easton, for loaning me your miniature pig. Sigmund von Hogg brings his own individual personality to several scenes. I met Siggy when he was a rather large baby. Now at 100 pounds he is full grown, but still is considered miniature. My special thanks to Edith Edwards of Kudzu Connections in Rutherfordton. I once wrote about the destructive qualities of kudzu in a book called The Glass Flame, but now I have learned about its virtues. The Book of Kudzu provided me with a fascinating collection of recipes, not only for culinary purposes but for healing as well, all helpful in my fiction writing. The handsome drum in the story was the work of Edward King, who makes each drum an individual work of art. I acquired one of his drums for myself, so that I could hear its varied tones whenever I wished, and try to catch the sound of my own amateur thumping. 2 scenes in the story take place in Asheville itself. One is set in the famous Grove Park Inn, high above the city. The other takes place in the Captain's Bookshelf, a delightful antiquarian bookshop. My thanks to Chandler Gordon, son of the original captain, and to his wife, Megan Gordon, who created the